It was a huge bomb right in the middle of Jerusalem. And when it went off, Debbie Denison was in her office just 2 blocks away.
I've been through this so many times. It was almost like I was anticipating each step of my response, each step of my reaction. You hear the explosion, you run outside, you look the skyline to see where the smoke is coming from so you can anticipate what part of town was hit. And then you start counting how many seconds until you hear the first siren. And then the second siren, and then the whole chorus, the whole city starts sounding of sirens. And then you start seeing people running down the street one way, and then people running the other way, and there's panic, and everyone has their cell phones on, and everyone's calling, and people are crying.
15 people died in this pizza restaurant in August, the worst suicide attack in Jerusalem in more than 5 years. And for Debbie, whose husband and kids were on vacation in the States, it was a moment of crisis.
For 2 or 3 days, I was just so totally caught off balance. Why do I want to bring my kids back into this? Why do I want to bring my family back? And I wrote emails and I said, we need to start looking at other alternatives for our kids. Who can they stay with this year? Where should we send them? This is foolishness to bring them back.
Today, the Denisons are back for 1 more year. It will be their 7th. There were jobs to consider, they say. Bethany, their eldest, is in her senior year at high school and wants to graduate with her friends. David, who is 12, and Kelly, 15, agreed with their parents they didn't want fear to chase them away. They also agreed that this year life would have to be different.
This is Kol Yisrael, the Voice of Israel, broadcasting from Jerusalem.
Since the Intifada began, I would plan my day by the morning news. How bad was it the day before would indicate how many restrictions my children would have on their day. If the intensity was getting higher, if you knew there was more conflicts, more protests in the streets, if someone had been shot or there had been an attack, then I would restrict them severely where they could go, what they could do. If things had been quiet for a week or 2, then those restrictions, you begin feeling safe again. But it's gotten to the point where it doesn't matter the morning news anymore. I don't believe it's ever safe.
That's a change from when the Denisons arrived in Jerusalem. Then the talk was of peace. Today, this is a city under siege. In the years since the Palestinian Intifada, or uprising, began, there have been more than a dozen bomb attacks here. The latest on a street the family travels every day, just 200 yards from the children's school.
That was one of those frustrating mornings when the kids don't eat breakfast on time, they don't get their hair dried on time. You know, we left the house 5, 6, 7 minutes late. And had we been on time, we could have been right in the area of that blast.
People coming to school crying because they were right in front of where it had happened or just a few cars ahead of it. At that point, I did realize this situation here does affect me. You know, I mean, for a long time, it was kind of like it's just a Palestinian-Israeli conflict. But when it hits that close to home, you do realize it does affect you.
Are you planning on staying?
The school, which is also where Debbie works, has begun taking precautions. There's a brand new automatic gate. A new concrete wall is being planned 10 feet high. And some children have started arriving in bulletproof vans. But the biggest dilemma parents face is what to do with their kids outside of school. At the Denison house, the rules are clear. No public transport, no going to crowded areas. Instead of hanging out downtown, David now invites his friends home. Instead of going to movies, they watch a lot of TV and videos.
Well, this year we've sort of made a joke. We're grounded for the entire year. We can't go anywhere.
That's certainly how it feels to Bethany, who's just turned 18.
I don't have much of a social life anymore. It's basically school now. But, yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Occasionally, her parents do relent. Tonight, she's allowed to meet friends at a nearby mall. But her dad insists on driving. He wants to make sure her cell phone works.
If it's on normal, yeah, that's the one that rings.
Select.
And he gives lots of advice as to which entrance has the best security.
All the other entrances get a crowd of people, so a bomber can detonate himself before he gets to the metal detector in the crowd.
Striking the balance between freedom and safety has never been easy here. Even adults can't agree. Barry Denison works for a Christian charity. The open-air market, or shuk, is just next door. It's been the target of several bomb attacks over the years, but Barry still shops here. He even takes his mom.
You have to live. And I think that's probably the most important thing I've learned here is in the midst of someone trying to destroy your lifestyle, the best revenge is living your life to the fullest, enjoying life.
I don't like to flirt with danger, and I think it's flirting with danger. Sure, the shuk is safe probably 363 days out of the year, but there may be 2 attacks in the year, and those attacks take place in 3 seconds, 4 seconds, but if you're there during those 3 or 4 seconds, you could be the one in the middle of it.
On top of everything else, the Denisons have had this to contend with. They live in a part of Jerusalem Israelis call Gilo. Across the valley is the Palestinian town of Bet Jala. Their house doesn't face the front line, but they hear the fighting, and they have good friends who live on the other side.
One of our children is very quick to have tears for other people. And so when Gilo's being attacked, that's concerning, and you know, she'll be worried about it. But when she hears the helicopter shooting back into Beit Jala, and having classmates who live in Beit Jala, then she's in tears.
How do you deal with their fears?
Sometimes just hug them and let them cry.
We don't want fear to consume them. We don't want fear to control them. We don't want fear to become their focus. And the only way to do that is allow them to express their fears, to air their fears, to help them recognize what they're dealing with, what they're coping with, and then try and put that in context with the rest of their life.
But that is getting harder to do, especially with what's happened in America. Israelis are already lining up for gas masks. At the school, Debbie is part of a planning committee.
We've done gas masks before. They are not available to foreign residents until the last minute.
At home, they have talked about evacuating the children, but not unless they have to.
We thank you for our family and for our friends, for your protection and for the life you've given us.
Because the one good thing that has come from this year, this family says, is that they have grown closer.
There's incredible stress on a family living in an environment like this, and either you call upon each other for strength, or you take that fear and you take it out on one another. You know, even as our kids grow up and go their own way, there will be a special bond that we have shared because we have lived through this together.
For Nightline, this is Gillian Finley in Jerusalem.